green, very
Oh my
well
god,
kept
that looks
gardens, very
incredible.
clear side. It's just how nice most of you
They
are.
are so nice. That's so
if you're
cool.
not talking about
Hi and welcome back. So many things between the US and Europe are pretty different. And today we are discovering 6 things that are happily surprising about living in the US. So I'm very excited to see what those surprising things are. But before we start doing that, please hit like and subscribe. Especially subscribe. It would help me so much. We are still a small channel and yeah, every subscriber here counts. So thank you so much for doing that. Okay, let's go into a reaction.
Hello, I'm Lawrence and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to the things that surprise us. Specifically, for me, the things that happily surprise me about living in the United States. Now, this might seem like a strange video to do at this time while many of us are trapped in our quarantine bunkers.
Okay,
but once we all
COVID.
emerge, I'm excited to start enjoying many of these things very, very soon, even though I didn't get to for the first 26 years of my life. America, today I salute you. Here are 6 happily surprising things about living in the United States.
Litter free.
You know, it's the little things in life, or should I say, the litter things in life that please people. And, you know, growing up in a country that is a wasteland, quite frankly, I'm joking, Britain's not that bad. But we do have a tendency just to, you know, throw litter around. And sometimes now, I've been hearing back in Britain since I've left, we've had this problem with fly tipping. And that's where, you know, people are dumping their trash. But even minus that, I just got this general sense that Britain was just a bit more littery than America. In America, everywhere's super clean. That's one of the great things about it. You can enjoy the oxygen around you, knowing that it hasn't touched a chewing gum wrapper. This is usually the case, and I'm taking the examples of the places I've lived. This is about 4 different cities at this point, and in each and every one of them, you have very green, very
oh my god, that looks incredible.
Sidewalks, although in some cases,
oh, that looks so cool. Looks a little bit like.
But it's
let's go back. It looks a little bit like Japanese with those cherry blossom trees.
And in each and every one of them,
look at this.
Green,
oh,
very well
that looks so cool.
Gardens, very clear sidewalks, although in some cases that could be because nobody used them. But it's really refreshing to go to the beach here in Chicago
socks.
and not find discarded chippy wrappers or crushed Coca-Cola cans or used condoms. Americans on the whole.
I didn't know Britain was so bad at that, because I was once in London and everything was clean there.
Just better about not littering, and I know that that sounds like a generalization of the wild variety, and it makes me sound like a crotchety old man telling people to get off his yard, but at least my yard is clean. I mean, most in Britain are, to be fair. It's mostly the streets, and I should know, I grew up on the mean streets of Grimsby. It was actually a nice area, but you know, sometimes the streets would still be littered with caviar containers.
Soccer fields.
This one was hugely surprising, especially as a fan of football, or as they say in the rest of the English-speaking world, soccer, because, you know, I'd always sort of understood America to not be truly interested in soccer or football, and in many respects this is still true, at least, you know,
wait, do they say in Australia soccer? I thought they said football.
Normal and sport is still happening. America still prioritizes NFL, basketball, hockey, and what's the other one? Baseball, above all other sports. And so it was just really surprising to this fresh face.
And NASCAR.
Who came equipped with a soccer ball to find that there were soccer fields aplenty. They were everywhere, even in Anderson, Indiana, right, which is the place that I've lived that had the lowest population. But off the top of my head, I can already think of about 5 soccer fields in that city alone. They're very, very widespread, at least in the eastern portion of the United States.
That's absolutely incredible. Like 5 pitches for a sport that isn't that popular in the US. I mean, of course, in Germany we have way more, in probably way smaller town. But it's our national sport, so of course we have, right? But I can think of one American football field, for example. Yeah, so this is absolutely amazing. Please hit like and subscribe. It would help me so much. Thank you.
Speak for the sort of the plains and the Rockies, because can you imagine having soccer fields high up in the mountains? It might happen. If you live in those areas, let me know in the comments below. But I think one of the chief reasons that there are just so many of them is that they're very popular with school-age people. And of course, it is one of the most popular sports in the United States played by women. You've just got to look at the overwhelming success of the U.S.
Right, they are world champions, I think, right? The girls.
Women's national team, who've won at this point about 2.5 million World Cups. England, of course, still waiting on theirs. And speaking of waiting, that brings us on to this. America is known as the land of the free. And I
That
always
is
thought
so
that was
cool.
quite weird because, I always considered Britain to be quite free, as in we had freedoms. But then I started to think, well, maybe it comes down to the little things, right? Something I noticed, of course, and I've talked about on this channel, is you can get free refills in any kind of restaurant on your sodas. And the same is true of entering public toilets.
That's also very cool to get free refills, although maybe it isn't that healthy. But it's really cool, especially as a kid. I would love that because when I was a kid, I always drank not so much from my Coke because I was like, oh, I have to pay so much more to get a new Coke. So I was always like only tiny bits of sipping. So that would be so cool.
You don't drink the contents, let's be clear about that. What I'm saying is, in Britain, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes, public toilets will charge you an entry fee in order to use it. And I can understand why.
In Germany, like nearly every toilet does this. Of course, not in a restaurant or stuff like that, but public toilet, like, I don't know, in train station, stuff like that, yeah, they will do
this. It's partly for the upkeep of said public toilets. But it's a big problem when you really need to go. Nobody wants to find themselves in a race to find their change versus a race to change their knickers. In America, sure, there are some quirky exceptions somewhere. You never have to worry about that. You just have to worry that people can see you through the crack. I feel like I've mentioned window screens a lot in my videos, but not really in the context of how they've brought me a lot of joy. And that might sound really strange, right? But in England, we never had them. And we also never had air conditioning. So you find yourself in this strange
situation. Yeah, oh my
situation.
God, air conditioning. I had it in Thailand and in Malaysia and in Bali. Oh, it's so much better than what we have. We have nothing. We just sweat. Oh.
Particularly on a warm summer's day, of having to open the window
just
to
so
get
much
some
better
fresh
in the
air
US.
But of course, with
so
that
much better
come some other things. Things like, mosquitoes, which to be fair in Britain aren't anywhere near as bad as they are in the American Midwest, or Big Daddy Longlegs, or, bees. Bees can get in the house, and who wants that? Now, bees and wasps and things like that are probably the most dangerous things that might get into your house in Britain. So it's not really a huge concern, but it can be an irritation. And it's an irritation that's largely alleviated in the United States by the existence of these window screens. I'm not saying that insects don't get in at all. I mean, I've seen enough ant colonizations in my kitchen to know that that's not true. But I do not remember the last time I encountered a wasp, a bee, or a mosquito inside my apartment. It just doesn't really happen. But the big revelation
because it's such an effort. Always, if you have a bee, it's such an effort. It flies everywhere around, and you have to carefully get them out of the room again. It's such a pain in the,
It doesn't just stop bugs from getting in. It also stops a certain somebody from getting out, and I'm not talking about my wife. She uses the door. Now in Britain, people might be a little less concerned about this because, there's more of an outdoor cat culture there. But my cat, much like the cats of many people in the United States, is very decidedly an indoor cat. And if I want to open the window, as I did today, right, there are occasions during spring and autumn when, it's not hot enough for the air conditioning unit and it's not cold enough for the heating. You want to crack a window open, right? And if that were the case in Britain on a lower floor or even the second floor, your cat's gone. And to me, that would be bad because, recently I did have a dream that we lost him at the beach. And I know that curiosity isn't going to kill my cat, but a Prius would. Window screens save lives. Now, once we get the all clear to start on leaving our apartments, whether that is by the door or the window, then there's one aspect of America I will never take for granted again, and it's this.
National parks.
Don't get me wrong, we have a fantastic national park system in the United Kingdom, and one, I wished I'd experienced more while I lived there. And the same thing is happening right now as I live in America. I feel like I haven't seen enough of the national parks, or even sort of state parks or state forests.
I mean,
and things.
Somebody told me in the comments under my Enchanting Places video that there are so many parks. So of course you can't see every park, but maybe the best ones or the most famous ones. That would be cool.
Nature. Now, I have experienced one or two, Muir Woods near San Francisco, but I want to see the big ones. I've sold out at this point. I want to do Yellowstone National Park. I want to do Yosemite. I want to do Badlands. All of them, basically, in a week. Can we make that happen?
No.
Why not?
Because combined, they're larger than Britain.
Right. The national park system is
larger than Britain.
Some of the most unbelievable natural settings I've ever experienced or will experience because, I want to enter the Grand Canyon. That's not a euphemism. So I've already said to the wife, when we get out of this, we're cancelling the Paris trip. even though she's always wanted to do it, so that's a little harsh. We're just going to go out
I think she should have done it while you were in Britain, because they're so unbelievably close.
west, you know, pack up our tents and grow mustaches like Teddy Roosevelt. That's me, not the wife. Now, those of you that are new to this channel might not know that I used to do travel videos back in the day. And today, at the top of Ensign Peak, a wasp stung me. But then that, combined with having to work a day job, just got a little challenging. So I put it on hold, but I think now that I'm YouTubing full time, I might start it up again. I don't mean tomorrow, I mean when we've got the all clearance to go and do this sort of thing. This one might be the biggest one of all, hence why I saved it to last, because after all, what is a country without its people? In America's case, it's one big land of unregulated national parks. And I think this one is on the mind because, well, I haven't seen any people except the 1.5 that I live with. And the good thing, I think, that was surprising anyway about Americans and American people is just how nice most of you
They are so nice. That's so
if you're
cool.
not talking about politics or religion or PB&J sandwiches, of course there are wild exceptions.
PB&J, peanut butter, JJ, jam. Is it peanut butter and jam?
In any country, and I've certainly seen them here on occasion too, but they are the exception that proves the rule. Unlikely as it seems, I just have to look at the comments section beneath my videos. I know, sounds like a mistake, never do that, but mostly it's Americans who comment, and for the most part, they're all really nice.
By the way, in Germany, we don't use peanut butter at all. We use always just normal butter. Maybe that sounds weird. I don't know. Do you really use peanut butter like we use butter? Like, or is it just a special thing?
Really nice, right? Most of you. I mean, I ignore the ones that aren't. I have a motto: focus on the flowers, not the weeds. And maybe this is a bad example. A good example would be in real life. Americans are very welcoming, you know, sometimes too welcoming. I've been invited to ranches by people I've never met. It's weird.
Yeah,
But
I've also been invited to many things. That's true, yeah. I mean, that's so nice, but it always gives you a little bit of pressure that you then also want to make the invite and stuff like that. And of course, I can't just go so many times to the US, right? I don't have the money for it. I don't have the money to even go one time to the US right now.
Into people to be hospitable. There's a lot of hospitality. You often hear of Hoosier hospitality, where I lived in Indiana. You hear of Southern hospitality, an appreciation for other people that goes missing on Twitter. But for the most part, you don't have those kind of interactions in real life, or at least that's been my experience of it. The interactions you have, I think, are mostly very nice. I think of going into shops. I think of going into restaurants, and I know that it's part of their job to treat the customer well. It can be split into two camps. Either you get that really sort of over-the-top cheeriness because they want a higher tip, or it's just...
Oh, I don't like if somebody's over the top. That feels fake.
Genuine, specifically when you're in a shop and you just strike up a conversation with somebody. It's much easier to do, I think, than perhaps in Britain. We're a little more guarded, I think. About
yeah, Europeans are way more reserved, I would say, and way more skeptic and way more like, what do you want from me? Like way more the other person is somebody that harms you, stuff like that, I would say.
Generalization again, and of course I'm not saying that Americans are better than British people, but I think it's
no, I mean both have its positives and negatives, but I really like to have those very kind, nice conversations with Americans because it's just so refreshing. It's just so cool, and yeah, I mean, if you want to have a very rational and effective conversation, then do it with a German. But this niceness and kindness is just something so refreshing if you're living in Germany, where everybody is like straight to the point, everything, you know, and it's just very boring then.
Because if you're coming here and you expect everybody to fall into sort of one of 5 categories, right? Either a seedy boss type from an 80s Wall Street movie, a stoner kid, a surfer dude, they're one and the same, all of the characters from Friends, or Norman Bates from Psycho, then you're going to be disappointed.
Is this a guy that always solves crimes, like with weird mental stuff?
Or happily surprised, as I was. That's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me. Let me know in the comments below, specifically if you're not from America, what you were surprised that I was surprised about. And if you are from America, same. Listen, I divulge this kind of...
So my most thing I was surprised about is that this niceness is actually true. Because many Europeans always say that Americans are very nice, but also in the same sentence they say then that it's fake. And so far I haven't encountered fake niceness, or maybe I'm very bad at seeing it, you know, but I don't think so. So, but always it was very welcoming and honest niceness, and that surprised me because in Europe you always say, yeah, they are so nice, but they are also so fake. And I haven't seen this until now. I have only seen very nice people, of course. Some of them, not some of them, but some other people are also weird and rude. But most of the people, like 80-90%, are so nice and honest with that. And that is absolutely amazing. That was, I think, my biggest surprise, or that it's actually meant niceness and not like over the top niceness, stuff like that. And that was very positively surprising. But I think most things that he said probably don't surprise me now anymore. But yeah, I could see that most of them are very, very true and are positive surprises indeed. Of course, many things in the US you can have two opinions about: guns, other stuff like that. Of course, politics, stuff like that. But I think those things are very positive things. I think everybody in the US or out of the US would agree upon. And yeah, that makes the US, I think, a little bit special in many things, because especially in Europe, if you are not South Europe, you know, Italiano are also very nice, but people are way more reserved. And, you know, you can't just walk up to them and start a conversation without a weird look. Let's say it like this. Yeah, but I really enjoyed it. Tell me, what is maybe your biggest surprise while meeting people from a different nation or in their nation? Or if you are not from the US or not naturally born in the US, what was your biggest surprise when you went to the US? Tell me this in the comments. So I have more surprises to be made in the comments while reading them. Okay, yeah, that was it for today. We see each other in the next video. Bye!